Welcome to People with Purpose. I am your host, Sylvain Rochon. I'm a speaker, an author, a serial entrepreneur, and a business strategist. My purpose is to engineer a paradise on Earth using cutting-edge technology. I hope this show will give you excellent examples of individuals that chose to do great things in their personal and professional lives. Perhaps they will inspire you to follow in their footsteps. The show's format is very simple. I ask my guests 3 simple questions. What is your personal purpose? Why is it important to you? And how did you get started? Now let's hear from our guest. Hello everybody. This is Sylvain Rochon. I'm in company of a wonderful discovery. Discovered Dr. Mansur Hasib maybe 2 months ago. When the CIMC, an organization I'm involved with, did a recording at Willis College, a local college in my town, and I thought this man was hilarious, wonderful, great insights, genius thinking around the topic of cybersecurity. A really amazing approach. So I needed to have him on the show. Just to let you know who he is, well, he's a cybersecurity leader and healthcare. Actually, he's a cybersecurity and healthcare leader, the speaker and program chair at the Graduate Cybersecurity Program at the University of Maryland University College. That's a bit of a mouthful. Thank you for being here, Mansur.
No, thank you for having me. This is great. I was looking forward to this conversation because I knew it was going to be fun.
Yeah, well, definitely it is going to be fun because I'm going to get to learn the fundamentals of what make you, you.
Okay.
And you'll be able to share whatever you feel like sharing about it, because the main question of this show, the People with Purpose, we want to know what your purpose is. So, what is your life purpose, Dr. Hasib?
My life purpose has always been to help people succeed. Now, I never consciously thought about that phrase until very recently. But when I look at my life, even as a child, and what I was doing was basically helping my friends succeed in whatever it is that they were trying to do. What I found during that time was just by doing that, it actually helped me succeed, and it helped me become a leader. Because what was happening was, as I helped each friend in succeeding in whatever it is that they wanted to do, they would help me with whatever it is that they could help me with. And all of a sudden, we were a bunch of friends that were helping each other succeed. So as I was saying, I never thought about it consciously, but it was recently that I started talking about personal branding and wanted to go out there and truly help people become leaders and succeed. I said, I have to have a personal mission statement. I think everybody needs to have a personal mission statement, because once you can vocalize and clarify that in a very succinct phase, all of a sudden you have a purpose in life that is easy to explain. It's a good elevator pitch. And then people get it. So that's when I came up with this personal mission: help people succeed. It's kind of simple, it's succinct, and it basically shares my essence, which is also my whole concept of leadership. Because to me, leadership is simply helping people succeed in whatever it is that they're trying to do. You see?
But that's also your definition of leadership.
That is my definition of leadership.
So you're obviously an educator, but you're pro, and a lot of different types of educators out there. You have those that kind of stay up front, just kind of, here's my knowledge,
right,
and I'm delivering, and then I'm going to lunch by myself, basically. But you seem to be taking a different approach to education, which is very much more results-based and perhaps interactive. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the difference between me and, say, a typical educator is that I actually spent 30 plus years practicing in the industry. So whatever I teach in my industry domain, I have already done practical experiences in that. On top of that, I do have the academic credentials because you can't really be teaching things without having knowledge of the body of knowledge, which is where your specialty is. So that practitioner scholar approach also helps me focus on people who are also trying to be practitioner scholars and not just scholars by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I believe that at the end of your education, you need to have a job. You need to be able to do things. So, because it's not about knowledge, it's not about what you know, it's more about how you can apply what you know to solve real problems that are out there. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the biggest difference between me and a lot of other, I would say academics and scholars, because I consider myself to be a practitioner scholar rather than a pure scholar or a pure academic.
So do you think your purpose, what you really identify in your gut, is more around the pleasure of passing along information in an interactive way or otherwise, or is it more along the lines of resolving real issues in people's lives? Because I'm hearing both.
It's a lot more about helping people focus on what is their mission in life, because everybody has to have a mission. Because I believe that once you find your mission and your purpose in life and you can narrow that down, at first, of course, when you're much younger in life, you are supposed to have a lot of interests. And it is good because your whole idea at a very, very younger stage of life is to develop as many parts of your brain as possible. So you should be experimenting, because without experimentation with a whole bunch of fields and knowledge and disciplines, you will never know what it is that you're really good at and what it is that you really love. Then you start to focus at some point. And it is okay to have 4 or 5 dominant areas, but at some point, then start to focus on something that becomes your personal mission. To give you a very simple example, I had a student about 2 years ago, and she was doing her master's in cybersecurity technology in my program. By talking to her and coaching her and all that, she understood and I understood that, okay, her passion is actually with unmanned aerial vehicles and drones and things like that. So even though this field of cybersecurity is very broad, if she could focus in that particular area, which is her passion, I mean, she loves doing that, talking about that, researching that, then it wouldn't feel like work for her, number one. Number two, she could establish a brand just around that. And that's the kind of thing that I do. So I met another lady at a book festival the other day, and I never knew her from Adam. Just talked to her for a couple of minutes, and then started finding out what it is that she does, what it is she likes. And she was trying to find her focus. And literally within a 15-minute conversation, something clicked in her brain. And I mentioned, isn't that your focus? Because you seem to, the moment you start talking about that, you are excited, you are passionate, and everything else, you're kind of, So she was like, yes, Dr. Hasib, you just helped me find my passion. so that's what I help people do. And so people come to me at various stages of their life, and just talking to them and helping them find their passion, they can help build that brand around that passion. I mean, my goal is to make sure that people end up doing something that they love so much that it never feels like work. Because if it feels like work, you shouldn't be doing it.
Absolutely. It took me 40 years to discover what I was really supposed to be doing, like in the sense that, and now that I'm doing it, like I'm wearing the clothing that represents what I'm doing. It's I've been an educator all my professional life, but pure education. Well, I did elementary school, high school, university. I mean, I taught at all levels, and they're all like, I like it, but you know what I mean? It's like,
you're passionate about it, right?
There's part of it I really love, but part of it that sucks. You know, I don't like this part.
Right.
And there's like a lot of volunteering, a lot of different things. But it took me years, just so it did you, because I know you have a very eclectic past as well. But I
Yes.
discovered recently, like, okay, I'm doing something that doesn't feel like work.
Hmm. Hmm.
This feels like my day. This is my normal thinking,
Hmm.
and I'm driving value in society by doing what I would normally do, what feels like in my core, right?
Absolutely. Right. Right.
So it took me 40 years of experimentation to to discover it.
But you never know. It's as I was saying to you earlier that you could be doing different things at different stages of your life because some of the things that you did earlier and similar to me,
Mm,
it's like they were foundational pieces. You
yeah,
see, because as we mature, I think, and come to a level where the brain is complex enough where you are thinking through a lens of 40, 50 years of experiences, education, because it's all in there.
yeah,
And at some point, that starts to come out. Because I can tell you the way I would explain things, say, 10 years ago, is radically different than the way I explain it today.
sure, absolutely. Now, here's a second question for you.
Hmm.
Why is uncovering other people's passion or their purpose, why do you think that's so important to you? If you can formulate the reason.
I guess one of the things I've always enjoyed throughout my whole life is making friends and
Mm,
knowing people and building relationships. So that's been my form of entertainment, to tell you honestly. I was never much of a TV watcher. I
hmm.
would much rather go out and spend some time with friends, whether it's playing games or doing whatever. So people were always my entertainment. I find people to be fascinating, especially people who are fascinated about something, some passion, and they're fun to be with. I mean, just being with them sometimes will give me positive energy.
Mm,
Because to me, that if you think about us as a human being, at the end of the day, we need stimulation, right?
oh, yeah.
And being with a positive person, having a good conversation, laughing, making jokes, all of that, what does it do to us? We're getting all kinds of good chemicals flowing through our body.
Yeah, dopamine, enkephalines, all sorts of families of chemicals are floating there.
Yes, and these are actually inspiration chemicals because they will
Yes.
help us think of things that we never thought about. So that's probably the whole thing. Whereas, say, watching TV or something is such a passive, vicarious experience. And sometimes, like, TV is so negative that it actually becomes a stressful stimulus and starts producing what I call an amygdala hijack condition,
Mm,
which is a
sure.
perpetual stress situation.
Yeah.
And when you're under perpetual stress, guess what happens to your brain? It starts to shut down and perform at a much lesser capacity. So I try to avoid all that as much as
And you
possible.
know, another effect of chronic stress, so like regular stress, is
Hmm.
people, because of this amygdala shutdown,
Right.
basically. Well, actually, it becomes more active, but with negative emotion chemicals.
Hmm.
Is that people become more selfish and antisocial.
Yes, because you're becoming more like an animal
Yeah,
because animal instinct. So
that's right.
we are either humans thinking through reason or we're instinctual thinking like an animal.
Hmm.
So I'd much rather be thinking like a human all the time.
No, absolutely. Like the emotion of joy, like you're talking
Yeah,
about pleasure. I talk about this, and I wrote about this in many books, many articles.
right.
That the parasympathetic neural system that it gets activated,
Uh-huh.
smiling, we become relaxed, stress
Mhm.
goes down, we
Right.
become very social. It's the whole biochemistry gets activated in that way, but we become relaxed. We would be terrible at trying to flee a danger,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Right.
but we're comfortable and we're social. We're
Absolutely.
safe to each other because we want to chill, right?
Right.
But
Right.
when we're stressed, chronic stress,
Hmm.
then you become antisocial. You fall into the survival mode, like you said,
Right.
fight and flight.
Hmm.
And then people tend to do things they would not normally do to each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yes, it's very important to keep ourselves in the actually it's the parasympathetic neural system is the positive one. Then sympathetic is the negative one. I reversed them to keep ourselves in the positive sense,
Mhm.
and then lots of problems are resolved, and it's fun, right? It's great.
But the other important aspect also is that I myself have been helped by tons of people
Mm.
that were positive influences in my life, and they gave whatever they could to shape my brain, create my values, and help me be who I am. So I felt like that is the magic formula for any successful society. The more people that can help each other succeed and grow and thrive, it can grow from, say, a family unit to a village unit to a city to a country to really as global as possible. Because at the end of the day, humanity is humanity. I mean, no matter where you are, you have the brains, you have the passion, you have all those elements. And I believe that a lot of people helping each other could continue to improve humankind. So
Yeah,
so that's the other reason. I feel like if my contribution allows, say, a brain or a talent to fully realize itself, then that's wonderful.
absolutely. And another question, final question, because I only have three.
Okay.
Pretty simple, right?
All right. Yeah.
Is if you go back in time, and I'm pretty sure where you're going to go with this because I've heard you speak a couple of times already.
Uh-huh.
But but if you go back in time into your earlier days, like maybe
Mhm.
perhaps your childhood,
Mhm.
where do you think these ideas or this evolution of your purpose, where do you think it all comes from? Where did it start?
Singular person responsible for this is my mom,
Yeah.
because one of the things that she explained to me way back when was that focus on the positives, make friends with as many people as possible. And she taught me never to discriminate based on religion, sex, gender, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just judge people on values. So if people have good values, you mix with them. If people don't have good values, then you try to coach them and see if you can bring out some good values or transfer some good values in them. And if you can't, avoid them, but don't make enemies. I mean, at least don't criticize them, don't create enemies, but try to be as many friends as possible.
Mm.
You taught me also integrity, and then this singular focus on things that we can control. Because one of the things that I was a dreamer, always wanted to do things. I wanted to go abroad for higher education. I knew America was the place for higher education. And it seemed so far away and impossible because financially there was no way that I could have even dreamed that would be possible. But
Mm-hmm.
she made it very realistic because she said, don't worry about things that are 10, 20 years away because that would seem unachievable. Focus on what you can do now. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, you can study, you can get good grades, you can learn from your teachers and do these things. And as you continue doing whatever it is that are within your control right now, those things will take care of themselves later on. So she gave me that level of confidence and that focus on things that I can control,
Yeah.
and said, don't worry about the things that you cannot control, because she herself shared examples of how she used those same principles. Because as a woman, her dad did not believe in women's education, so never sent her to school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did she do? She actually solved that problem by creating a barter exchange with one of her uncles and her younger brother, that whatever they would learn at school, they would teach her. And in exchange, she actually would wash their clothes and polish their shoes and things like that. And she also was not afraid to do all of those things, and because that was what she needed to do to get herself educated, that was the only option that she had.
Mm-hmm.
So how a child like that can even dream of this solution, don't ask me. But I'm a product of that mother. So therefore, you can imagine, that's one of the biggest things that she transferred to me.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I've always focused on things that I can control and accept the things that I simply cannot control.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you get frustrated.
It's there's a principle in Japan called they call it Kaizen. And it's also one of the mottos of Toyota, the Japanese car. And Kaizen is exactly that concept.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you can do now, a small step, then another step will reveal itself, and you do that, and you do that, and the next. Eventually, you end up with a beautiful car, or whatever, right? But if you try to imagine, like, let's design a car.
Right.
Using Toyota as an example, well, that can be daunting if you don't have a car yet. If you don't have one, well, that's daunting. But start one thing at a time. I mean, I wish more people had mothers like yours, because it's fundamental, beautiful teaching. It's amazing.
Right. So this is what I teach also to people: micro innovation, which is that each person trying to do better in their job, surrounding what it is that you're doing, because everybody is capable of that. But how can I improve the job that I am doing? Because that's completely within your control.
Yeah.
And I think Kaizen is something similar to that, which is that micro innovation. Don't think about this grand innovation scheme where you're going to bet your whole life and company on that. Instead, do the micro innovation. And I know that Toyota actually does most of that. A lot of micro innovation and not too much macro innovation.
Yeah, it's a heavy principle in business when you start a new business as well. And people dream of having a big business. I want to be like Apple, or I want to be. But then, I mean, that's huge. But Apple didn't start that being Apple of today.
Absolutely.
And Bill Gates and Microsoft didn't start being a huge company. It started in his garage. Playing with software, step by step. It had built over that, and that's entrepreneurs. Because I coach entrepreneurs quite often. It's like no. Start with an MVP, a minimum viable product. Start with something small, something that you can test the market with. Don't think about the big thing, and then you get bigger later on. And every success story that I know of, whether it's professional or business, is always a Kaizen type approach, an approach that what you teach. Deal with what you can control. Try to make something that is presentable, that you can use. Next step is going to be next step. It's going to be later.
Right, and also the concept of helping each other or partnering with people compatible. So that was another thing that she taught also, that you have to help your friends succeed, in turn they will help you succeed. And that was also another concept that I have been teaching people. And if you notice that some of these greats almost always had a partner to sound off ideas, to refine their ideas into something else, or they brought in some other element that, say, the main visionary didn't have. So I think that's also key to success.
Well, there's plenty of examples of that too. But we usually remember just the illustrious inventor, or I sometimes I tell the story of Albert Einstein, because people think, well, he was thinking in his somewhere in a patent office, but I read a book about him, and what few people know, that he married 3 times at least, and the 3 of them were mathematicians.
Oh.
His wife, they were all mathematicians, because he was terrible at math.
Okay.
So he had an uncle that helped him out a lot with the mathematics. He was a great dreamer, but you have to make a proof, right? And then his wife's helped, and his uncle helped. He was not alone. It's just like the theory of relativity. Here it is. I did this all by myself. No, there's a lot of people that actually were contributing to his genius, but he's remembered as Einstein, right?
Right.
Same with Gandhi in India, like one of my favorite people in all the world. Like he didn't do what he did by himself.
Right.
There's a lot of significant people that were involved as well.
Absolutely. And then his ideas were reformed and refined over time until he got his messages and his key focus. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's where you're cybersecurity Gandhi.
that's
I'm not sure if that's accurate.
I don't know. But it certainly sounded hilarious.
But I mean, I guess the comparison is accurate in the fact that you are. I mean, your purpose is to help others. It's not about helping yourself. You're deriving pleasure from the movement, because you are doing what you feel you are meant to do in a way. This is fun.
Right, but I cannot do it without the others. I cannot do it alone. So that's the other thing. So as many people that embraces the ideas and then they start spreading their sphere of influence, that ripple effect is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's right. Like my book's title, Engineering Paradise. That's my tagline, right?
Oh, okay. Right.
Is it's not about me doing it by myself. Are you crazy? I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I can have collaborations and others that have a similar dream, and we, as a humanity, we can do it together, right?
Absolutely.
And that's so we in that we are a bit similar in our. We're both educators. We both have similar purposes, it seems, in what we do. It's the ripple effect I'm looking for as well, right?
Absolutely.
And if we all follow our inner purpose, just like we're both seemingly educating others and try to help others find their purpose,
right?
Then the world immediately is happier, more beautiful, less crime, less frustration, less stress. And we're creating just a better world while enjoying what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just a wonderful thought whenever I think about
it. No, it's true. It's true, because the negative stimulus and the craziness is really out there. And the only way to counter that is through the more positive thoughts and helping people find their purpose and passion. And then hopefully they also are inspired to go out and share and do their own thing. And in so doing, they help people come out of that amygdala hijack condition, because that's what is happening. A lot of the reason that a lot of the demagogues spread, say, fear and things like that, because they're hoping that you get trapped into this amygdala hijack condition. Because if you are trapped, that's it.
Yeah.
The only way to free you from that is through positive thoughts and stimulus.
That's especially now, like I'm looking at the States, right? There's a lot of division, there's a lot of discussion, there's more violence and bigotry and all this stuff that we see in the last few years, and that's because a lot of people are getting trapped into that mode.
Yes, hatred
of being fearful, right?
Hatred is learned. Nobody is born hating anybody.
No, it's a learned behavior. I've never seen a baby hate on a person. I mean, hating food perhaps and throwing at it, yeah, sure.
Right.
But but an infant 5 years old or less, I mean, they just love everybody. And
right.
So they have strange kids running up to me sometimes. And just inquiring, you see, like they don't know me.
Right.
They're just full of quiz in their eyes, and they just want to check us out, and sometimes smiling. The purity of children is a beautiful model for us adults. To be open to others, and I think avoiding the trap, falling through the fear mode, right? is a very, very important.
I think fear is important, but it should not be where it overcomes you, because then you start focusing on the problem. I feel like leaders should be focusing on solutions.
Yeah.
Problems are there, but leaders don't focus on the problems. Leaders focus on the solutions.
Wonderful. I think that is the perfect last word for this wonderful interview. Thank you, Mansur.
Thank you.
Dr. Mansur Hasib, everybody. I am putting down your link. You can check it out below in the description to check out Mr. Hasib and read his book and go to his conferences. Beautiful, beautiful mind. Thanks a lot for participating.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed the interview. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. Please join me also on Clubify, a social app allowing us to share ideas and where you can participate in some of my projects. The link is in the section below. Also, if you wish to recommend someone great I should interview, please let me know. And as always, follow your passion. See you next week.